So we'll talk about the past and we'll talk about the future in our short conversation. Let's start with the values that led Baron de Rothschild, and how do you see the transformations that were made to modify the legacy to this modern era?
Thank you for having me. So I think I'll start, in the two words you have legacy and then transformation. So I think legacy, and I think it's also a big inspiration is to see what your predecessors have made. I think the task, and for me the challenge is gigantic because my predecessors contributed so much to the state of Israel that I don't think in a lifetime I will achieve what they have. And then transformation is what was given to us and the way we are, or what I see, how I want to run it. So the Hanadiv left two big parts. One foundation that my uncle Jacob presides. And us, it was land, and we built a system in which we put all the land serves to the foundation. We develop the land, so we run cities, a city or several cities, and we have a business park, and then we also run the antiquities, all the harbor, in such a way that the best we run it, as we maximize, all the fruit of this work goes for the foundation, and the foundation in turn gives back to Israeli society at large. So I think we have put in place a virtuous circle. I put a lot of pressure on my teams to be one really good business leaders, and I think you have a parallel session on impact. And actually, I think in terms of legacy, at the time then, I think Edmond Rothschild already had a vision of being a very impactful person because it was not about just business or making money. It was what do you do and how you make money to give back in turn.
But how, if it's possible, maybe to tell us maybe a short glimpse of behind the scenes. How do you choose your projects? In light of which values?
So I think one of the big switches in philanthropy at large, not only in our family but in many foundations, is I would say we really moved from a very generous traditional way of doing philanthropy, i.e. making checks for good causes, to a vision of philanthropy with impact as well. So one, we choose projects. One, we identify needs in Israeli society, whether in education or arts or women, for example, or parts of Israeli society, Arab Israelis, Ethiopians, what their needs are, and we either find programs that exist in Israel or we develop our own. The teams follow the projects very closely with a certain number of targets that we put in place. And it's true, what we look for is we like working in partnerships as well, so we welcome and either we join or have other foundations join us because we believe, at some point we can experiment, but then size also matters to have a greater impact.
And we have to say, you don't just sign the check.
Nope.
You have a very close relationships with the projects, and you also found a way to measure the impact.
Yes, so we have also teams, and what I also like very much, depending on the projects, is also do, at the end of some of the projects, also have research. We question the way we work ourselves, because I think it's constant. You have to re-challenge yourself in such a way that you are striving to be every time better at what you're doing.
Can you maybe tell us about one of these projects? I know you love all of them are important, but maybe one in particular, just so we'll get to see what you do.
So because we're two women on stage, maybe I'll pick the women's doctorate program. So typically, and that's the way we set it up. We realized that you had excellent talent in the women students, but they had one hurdle, is to go to do a PhD. One, generally they had children, they were married. And thus they really needed, in terms of scholarships, a much more generous scholarship. So we give, within the scholarship, we take into account their living expenditures. And the scholarship spans generally, is not a yearly scholarship. We do 2 to 3 years in such a way that we are really certain that these women can go all the way to the doctorate program. When we pick these women, I require a just representation of Israeli society, meaning there's necessarily Arab, Israeli, Ethiopian, ultra-Orthodox women. By the way, a lot of these women are amazingly bright. They just don't have the means to go the extra step. And all of these women generally end up in very prestigious universities in the US, MIT, Harvard. But while we do this program, these women have to give back, and they're committed to giving back on a daily basis. So either they teach for children in help or they do social work, but these are parts of the way we structure the scholarships, is that all of our students today are necessarily socially committed, and they all give back, because I really believe from very early, the younger generation has to learn to receive and give.
Is it, bless you, is it an inherent requirement in all of your projects to give back, or?
In most of them, in many. At the time, I remember my father-in-law used to give thousands of scholarships, but I think that to me was something very important, is, yes, and the fact that you are, one, most of the students give back gladly. It's for us to organize where and how they can give back. And second, part of our mandate is to try to create the young leaders of tomorrow. And in terms of legacy, or my family legacy, I think giving back is really at the center of it.
May I ask on a personal note, you didn't grow up in a Jewish family. You grew up in El Salvador and South Africa, and I was wondering, what is your motivation?
So when I know it's always been, I think it's been a very interesting debate over the last 30 years, what Jewishness is about, and I think I've spent years and weeks and months debating with rabbis about the Jewishness. I think, so not finding the answer, I said, what matters to me is what you do and not what you are or pretend to be. So I think what matters to me is to do. And I think, again, joining this family, I think the past is so inspiring that I think, and it's so, the DNA in this family runs so deep that it would be almost impossible not to be a philanthropist.
So maybe a few words about the next generation?
So, yes, so I have 4 daughters from 20 to 26. So I think, one, I think it's a heavy weight to carry to begin with, because again, you always see your predecessors and you say, how am I going to be up to that level? One, they have time. 2, I always say, in French, you always say the tree doesn't fall very far from the apple tree. The apple doesn't fall from the tree. So they are now studying, getting quickly into real life. And yes, they are in their own way and their own time. They contribute to different causes, mostly for now, children who are subject to a lot of family violence or country violence, refugees. And so 3 of my daughters are really dedicated to that.
As an international banker and as a leader of social responsibility, how do you define Israel challenges at present and maybe in the close future? How much time do we have?
No, so that's good because we don't have much time, so I can do it in 3 sentences. Because it's, I think it's really important, because it's the Zionist Congress, no, really, and I think about it a lot. I think Israel has, one of Israel's biggest challenges will be the Jewish communities within Israel. That's one part. The gap, the widening gap between liberal and Orthodox, I mean, the different splits in society are, to me, a big worry for the stability of the country. I think the second part within the Jewish part is also the relationship to the diaspora. I think one of the big challenges is getting the young generation on board. It's a very different generation. Some are very attached to Israel, but there's a lot who aren't or don't see it as we see it. So there's a lot of work to find ways to, yes, have them, keep them committed to the greater good of Israel. And the diaspora is wide and diverse. And I think that's one for me is really one of the parts I look the most in Israel. And again, I think creating a future solid state with great leaders is what I work on the most. The economics or the past results are never a true guarantee for future results. So therefore, there's a lot of work to be done to have a younger generation of politicians, a younger generation of scientists, a younger generation of artists, and that's what I work on a lot.
So we have 2 days to find solutions.
Absolutely.
That's, I think, enough time. Baron Nessar Yander Rothschild, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.